Cool. Awesome. Thanks everybody for joining. As always, good to see those of you with your cameras on. Thanks for your hard work. Cool. Couple things I kind of wanted to just touch on first. I know there's been a lot of discussion recently around some I'll say troubling accusations of behavior on testnet as it relates to the Foundation's delegation program. We are aware of that. I've been working with Tim and Ella and others to kind of get to the bottom of this. Long story short, though, it does appear, unfortunately, that there are a large number of people who have potentially been fraudulently running validators on testnet in the event, pretty much in an attempt to game the onboarding criteria for the mainnet delegation, and really kind of going against like the whole spirit of the program here, which is to help more people, more individual humans. Yes, Zentetsu, that is certainly a good chance, and we are aware of that. Yeah, so right, it really sucks, and I know a lot of people have been frustrated about this, and there's a good chance that when we I'm hesitant to promise anything because I want to make sure that anyone who is behaving and just trying to do their best is not caught as collateral damage. So I want to make sure that we're really precise in kind of making a determination here. But if there is pretty much strong evidence that there's a large Sybil cluster or a large number of people that are effectively Sybiling by handing over control or copying exact operating instructions and node configuration instructions, there's a good chance that we're going to bump just about everyone who's doing that out of the program. So I just wanted to let that known. I know there's people that have been around for a really long time that are in testnet and feel like as a result they've been perhaps unfairly kind of getting jostled around the queue as a result of some other people's behavior. It's super frustrating for you. It's super frustrating for us. Yeah, so we're going to kind of take some corrective action here, probably in the next couple of days. And then going forward, we're going to do pretty much like reassess our entire kind of KYC process, as well as doing some, I'll say like proof of humanity checks for people who have more recently KYC'd, and just make sure that, the people that are signing up like are individual unique humans. There's a lot of you guys and there's only a few of us. And so there's only so many checks we can do. It's unfortunate that we've kind of come to this, but I want you guys to know that we're here to support the community, and sometimes that means we cast a pretty wide net. But unfortunately, if people are taking advantage of that, then we're going to have to bring the axe down or be a little bit more hard-assed about how we do entrance for delegations. So I just wanted to name that. I appreciate everyone who's been, helping us out and, dealing with some of that friction recently. So look forward to some more information there. But yeah, basically take some corrective action. We're also working on making some of the entrance criteria and, possible changes to onboarding ordering a little more transparent to some folks. Yeah, Michael, to your question, yeah, I do want to figure something out here. I know I was been watching the Discord. I was out for a little while in the last week or two. But yeah, I don't want you guys to feel like you're having issues and complaints are getting lost in the void. So we're going to add some support there as necessary. But yeah, thanks for calling that out. Cool. So those are just kind of some quick updates there. Looking forward, couple things. So we want to, make these changes so that people feel like, they understand what they're getting and that they're, sort of have a fair shot at receiving a delegation from the Solana Foundation. However, one thing kind of looking towards sort of the longer term future of the network is to sort of, foundation alone shouldn't be the sort of singular determining factor if a new validator feels that they have a good chance of profitability, receiving like a good amount of stake or not. It's hard to scale the small team of humans at Foundation, but there are a lot of people in the community, token holders and stake pool operators, who are willing to support validators, but often connecting them is really difficult. If there's a language barrier, or if there's just some validators are maybe better at marketing than others, and that's always going to drive some kind of differences in the balance, in the network, and that difference provides incentives for people to work harder and promote themselves, and I think that's fine. But in that light, I just sort of wanted to share an idea that we're working on, and that is shifting some of the funds that are currently dedicated to the Foundation Delegation Program to something more like a community-driven sort of stake pool delegation program. The idea here being to sort of reduce like our singular stake criteria being the only path to victory for new and existing validators. We're still working out some of these, exactly what the details and the strategy are going to be here, but basically this would pretty much look like removing some of the treasury or some of the tokens from the delegation program and making these available for deposit into either new or existing stake pools that would have, I'll say, some guidance from Foundation on, like, for example, like we don't want to use Foundation funds to delegate to nodes in the super minority, just like we do in the delegation program, but really want to encourage and foster like more diversity in the criteria that different pools or stake pool operators can use, and see that as like a path to victory. So there's kind of a lot there. We're still, kind of going through some, some internal strategy. So I don't have hard details to share right now. But basically I just wanted to put out there that we're looking at making, some of this available to the community. So the idea here is like, really it's a, yeah, Zentetsu, I see your comment. The idea here is like to allow more community players to kind of be in the business of picking winners or losers, right? I don't want it to be, so unilaterally decided by, just the few of us on Foundation. Obviously, like we'd have some oversight, and a lot of this would be, most likely would be like, say, proportional. Like a deposit would most likely be proportional in size to like number of nodes and or third-party stake that a stake pool has managed to attract on its own. And this isn't going to be sort of like a set it and forget it kind of static thing, like, or not static, but not like a set and forget auto rebalance like we do for the delegation program. It's more of a sort of strategic rebalancing. So more details on that to come. I just wanted to make that kind of put that out there. And yeah, this does not mean like we're still going to maintain a strong delegation program, directly managed by the Foundation for the foreseeable future, particularly as this program is one of the primary drivers for continued support of testnet. And so in the absence of another sort of network incentivization structure for testnet, you know, we're going to keep the foundation program and keep the testnet operation as a requirement there. But you know, if a validator can work on getting included in stake pool A and or stake pool B and or stake pool C and or the foundation program, that I think makes for kind of a more robust and hopefully more like heterogeneous validator, operator, and security landscape, rather than simply, you know, oh, it's do or die if I get the foundation delegation, because, you know, foundation delegation is a certain significant size and a deposit from a stake pool, you know, is a much smaller size, right? So validators can then have a, you know, a more robust kind of competitive landscape to like try to get included in the different pools, and they all have slightly different entrance criteria. They all do somewhat different checks on who the validator operator is, how they're performing. So I think adding this level of diversity to, you know, I'll say paths to financial victory for our validator community is ultimately going to, you know, kind of continue to help the network grow, which is really what we're here for. All right, so that's what I've got for updates on the foundation program specifically. I want to kick it over to Tim, who you guys hopefully have all met by now, talking about some of the updates in 1.9 that we've recently rolled out to mainnet, as well as I believe Stephen Ackridge is here from the Solana Labs team to talk about the updates for the Quick protocol, which should be coming in 1.10.
All right, I'll start it off. I mentioned this before in a few validator calls ago, but 1.9, the main feature that's added there is incremental snapshots. So if you're concerned about startup times, which you should all be, updating to 1.9 of mainnet should help you out there quite a bit. Incremental snapshots is safe to enable in mainnet. So feel free to test it out in testnet and then roll it out on mainnet. There's also a feature that adds the ability to transition your identity key from your primary machine to a backup validator. If you have a setup like that, there's a new way of doing it. It's an incremental way. It doesn't distract from the old way. So I've got a doc on that I will put in the chat in a second. And though small caveats on updating to 1.9. So the first one being that you need 13 dynamic ports open instead of 12 like the previous releases. So be aware when you update a mainnet to have 13 ports available. And finally, the minimal RPC is now the default. So if you're running an RPC node in mainnet, and if you update to 1.9, make sure you enable the full RPC API flag. Yeah, I think that's all. Any questions on the update? Okay.
Tim, you said there's going to be a update in the doc. Is that going to be on the website as well?
Sure. Are you talking about the update for the transitioning your validator?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can add that to the website. That might not be as quick, but yeah, I can add that in.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of quick, there's been some questions about what's changing with the Quick protocol implementation. And yeah, Stephen, you want to kind of give an update of what that's doing,
Sure.
when it can be expected, and kind of what the motivation is for that?
Yeah, so so we're adding a protocol called Quick to the validator, and it's for now it's a replacement for what was the UDP port for transaction ingestion. And initially we'll have done both side by side with the idea to disable the TPU, the UDP only TPU at some point. there's an issue that kind of gives a pretty good overview, but I'll also kind of summarize it here. So one nice thing about Quick is that you get somewhat reliable transmission, right? For UDP, there's no, it's all one way kind of signal, right? You're blasting packets at the validator. It's not giving you any signal back. So Quick, as in the protocol, it has acts from the server to tell the client that it received one or more transactions. It also does a proof of IP, so it sends a challenge to the client to make sure that it's talking to the right, basically the right IP. So that enables things like doing rate limiting. That makes sense, right? Otherwise, if you are trying to do rate limiting with UDP, you don't actually know the source of the packet because it can be spoofed. And it also gives us better packet fragmentation handling. It's essentially built in, so we can go to larger transactions if we need to more easily, and we can also send multiple transactions in a single like MTU sized packet as well. So, and this is the server side part of it is merged into master. We also, the client for our test bench program is also merged. What we're working on right now are the three kind of main paths in the validator that we use right now for UDP, which is like the RPC send transaction service, the forwarding in the banking stage, and then the voting that the validator does. So, and those should come in pretty soon, and we're hoping to get all of those in by 1.10 in the next few weeks-ish to try to test it on testnet, and then eventually close down the traditional UDP transaction port.
And Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like we're probably going to push or encourage 1.10 adoption on testnet very soon, so people will start seeing some of this rolling out.
We have a test. We have a 1.10 release. It doesn't have obviously those paths those client paths that I talked about, but it does have the quick port that is already there. It's just nothing would be actively using it unless you kind of started up your own quick client to try to send transactions to a validator.
Right, and this isn't correct. I just want to make sure I'm understanding, and we pass this along. This is not changing UDP for gossip traffic. Is that correct? It's just for shreds and just for transaction forwarding?
That's right now. Yeah, for right now, it's just solely for transactions, solely for the TPU portion of the validator. So when the block producer, it's basically when the validator is the block producer and it's making the block, when it receives transactions into it to form the block, that's the path that we're talking about here.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any questions from the community? There's a question in the chat. about when we're going to see 1.10 on mainnet. I think it's a little hard to say, given that we haven't yet rolled out 1.10 on testnet, and with the port protocol change is pretty significant. I don't know if, Stephen, you have a kind of an estimate on scope of work remaining, although it's pretty hard to say without it even being live today on testnet. I would expect,
yeah, I mean,
conservatively,
like
2 months.
Yeah, if we get the 1.10 on testnet in the next week or so, then we probably want at least another month after that on testnet, ideally, to test it. So yeah, it's a minimum like 5 to 6 weeks. That's if everything goes really well, and then more if we have to debug some kind of regression that comes up.
Awesome, thank you. All right. Well, if there's no other, oh, Mike, yes. Question.
Hi, Mike from Luna Nova. Quick question for Tim. Tim, last Validator Roundtable, you made a reference to pulling together a list of validators and RPC nodes.
Yep.
I dropped you a DM, but you're obviously very busy. I just wondered what the purpose of it was, and is, obviously very happy to provide information. So could you just give a little bit more information about what you're looking to do there, please?
Yeah, sure. It's a list on Twitter of one list for RPC operators, one list for validators. The idea is just to get your name out there a little bit more and help, grow your following.
Okay.
Especially for RPC operators, I think it makes a lot of sense for people in the Solana community to have a place to go to find a list of RPC operators. And like Brian mentioned before, there's also the ecosystem page. So just another place to find it. That's all.
Okay. And who's maintaining that? I mean, are you maintaining it?
I'm maintaining it, yeah.
So how do I get that through to you? Is it via Twitter, or can I DM you, or?
Yeah, I'll double check the DMs. I probably just missed it.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Do that and give me a shout, and we can take it from there. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, one thing I'll just kind of add to that, just to give a little context, is, as we're seeing like the network grow and a lot of kind of new verticals and services popping up, particularly as in and around the RPC space, there's a lot of big players that are offering various services now. And so what I want to start building towards, and this is, one of the things that that Tim has been working on, and he and I are collaborating on, is, how can we help build sort of a more integrated knowledge base in the whole Solana community, from the people that operate the infrastructure, you guys as validators, but also those of you that operate RPC infra, all of the different sort of, ways that someone might have any question about, like, oh, what is a validator? Should I run a validator? Like, what are the economics of running a validator, right? Like these questions on the operator side, but also, so we're just working on better validator documentations and best practices. Certainly, that's an area of need. But also, allowing the community to kind of, I think Tim's list was driving to like help more people who say, oh, I want to stake, I'm a token holder. You can think of staking token holders as almost like customers or clients of a particular validator, if they choose to stake to an individual, or if they choose to stake to a stake pool, or in some different way, kind of providing a more like high level funnel and resources for people to understand, like, why should I care about this stuff? And then kind of looking up the stack, there are, some people have started exploring, benefits of co-locating a staked validator, an RPC node, and perhaps a dApp client server that is a customer of said RPC node or of said RPC operator, that sort of aligning the infrastructure between these three, as I previously, disparate pieces of infrastructure can actually provide kind of performance and economic advantages to sort of everyone involved. So I think what we're starting to see, there's other possible revenue streams for people who are operating staked validator that I think we're going to see come online. I know there's at least one project that's working on some MEV or MEV-like services for Solana. There's, I think, a project just launched called Kronos, which is doing sort of like cron job style, like on-chain bot programs that has some token-based reward structure for the validator operators that would choose to run it. So I think what we're starting to see is like the creation of kind of another layer of like value-added validator services beyond just voting rewards. And it's still kind of pretty disparate, but I think I think in the next maybe 3 months or so, we're going to see kind of some more of these services come together. And, I think it'll be interesting to help people like make the calculus that says, okay, well, if I run my node here, and that means maybe I can get stake from stake pool A and or B and or foundation, but in addition, I'm also going to do this service, and I'm going to provide some, service to an RPC provider in my neighborhood. It starts to get like a more complex, but also more robust sort of validator infrastructure economy. So that's sort of like what we're looking towards, and want to kind of build up resources and so that all the different players in this sort of infrastructure space can connect with each other a little bit more with better context. That's what I got. Any other questions? All right, amazing. I'll let you guys go. We're just about out of time today. Thanks everybody again for showing up. Malaya says, when Miami? April 5th through April 10th. I will be there. I hope you will be there. I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. So we're doing, this is a kind of brought to you by Solana Foundation event. We're doing a bunch of stuff in Miami in about 3 weeks. We're doing a hacker house from the 5th to the 10th. For those of you guys who may have seen some of these events we've been doing the last couple months, a hacker house is a very like developer-centric event. We get, rent out a space, get tons of free Wi-Fi, lots of big computer monitors, all the coffee you can drink. If you want to build anything cool on Solana, show up and get hacking. It's like we've got a bunch of the engineers from the Solana Labs team, particularly those who work on focus on like the dApp layer and the product layer on top. So people can get together, network, and at the end of the 5 days, we do like a big demo day, so people get a chance to kind of, go on stage, give a quick pitch about like, hey, here's what I built, in the last 96 hours, and just like, get more exposure. It's a really cool community event for like the technical side of our community. So that's going on. There's also sort of more broadly a couple series of events that we're just calling Solana Miami, which are happening same city, same time. In the same neighborhood as the Hacker House, we're also doing an NFT art gallery and sort of a Solana street fair of sorts, which is more catered towards a I'll say the crypto curious, or those who maybe have heard of Solana, maybe they know about Sol, but like haven't really used it before. You know, it's like, hey, I hear about this stuff, but like, what can I do? Well, there's a bunch of cool mobile apps or mobile wallets that enable you to do apps. We're gonna have a bunch of merchants that all accept Solana Pay, do some cool, I think, NFT-based activities. So there's gonna be a whole lot of stuff going on. How convenient that it's in the same city and the same dates as Bitcoin Miami. So I hope to see a lot of you guys there. Yeah, thanks, Malaya. Hope you'll show up. To the person who had a complaint put a chat just now about their lost self stake, just reach out to Tim in a DM, and he will work with you. Awesome. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.